you? Are you tired of this?
A mere mortal. A mere mortal.
Then you've come to the right place. Hello everyone, my name is Jackafe and welcome to my big dick blue Bo Sorcerer boss guide in Wuchang Fallen Feathers. It's time to put this very sexy long-legged blue, if I was green I would fucking die, bitch to her knees. I'm gonna cover everything from a general overview of the boss, strategies you can use to beat her, and actually highlight specific movesets that you can watch out for to be victorious. Hell, if you like this video, why not subscribe, follow, and comment? It really would mean a lot. With that being said, let's get it. In regards to a general overview of the boss, she is a medium-sized enemy, so pendants like the Fiend Felling Pendant, where you can increase damage to large bosses, will not apply here. Her two main attack types are the following: magic and slash, so building resistances against that is preferred. And lastly, she does do one status ailment, and that is frostbite. So equipping something like the fixed origin pill, or you can consider items like the spicy soup or Kong wine to increase your resistances there. So if we look at status weaknesses, the Bo Sorcerer doesn't have any glaring vulnerabilities, but there are status ailments like corruption that actually apply mild effectiveness, followed by burn, blight, paralysis, and frostbite. Now the interesting thing with frostbite against bosses, it'll work similarly to poise break, meaning once the gauge is filled, it will proc additional damage, but also slowing the boss as well. And the least effective status ailment, in my opinion, would be poise break. So as always, don't change your build depending on the status weakness of an enemy. You can certainly capitalize where possible, but certainly focus more on just smart combat tactics. Some general strategies for the boss. Now, because her attack types are predominantly magic and slash, you obviously want to build against high magic resistance with some slash mitigation. Armor sets like the Mistress of the Night set offers strong mitigation and is well balanced. You could also, of course, just equip the Ming or Centipede armor set and use pendants like the Luden pendant or the Nameless Eye pendant to increase your magic resistance. Or you can simply just do a mishmash of them all. Honestly, this fight is way more focused about smart combat tactics. So from an overall combat strategy, it's going to be very similar to most medium or small size bosses. You're going to want to have Skyborn Might gained through perfect dodges to try to get behind the boss in order to do a quick heavy attack to try to proc the Obliterate. There are certain movesets that are easier than others in achieving this, and I'll cover that on the next slide. We are able to summon help, and it is highly advised. We're actually able to summon the White-Robed Elder, and it is highly advised that we only summon him in the phase 2 of the fight. If you summon him at the start of the fight, I assure you, he will not survive the entire fight, leaving you to face the boss in phase 2, which is significantly more difficult. So it is highly recommended to simply learn the first phase of the fight, learn her mechanics, and through a battle of attrition, succeed. Another major tip is you can actually use the tree to line of sight the boss, giving you ample time to heal or even apply temperance. You could also use the tree to stop her water tornado spells, which is mostly evident when she's transitioning from phase 1 and 2. Keep in mind though that the tree will not block magic ranged spells such as Heavenly Flame, where she does consecutive magic slashes. So again, the tree will not block these magic slashes. However, it will block her charges and her general aggressiveness towards you. Lastly, this is a somewhat get good fight. You're going to need patience. You're going to need to learn pattern recognition. You're going to need to study her movesets that gives you the downtime you need to get behind her and proc obliterates. And now we're going to walk through what I find is the easiest movesets to accomplish this. So the first moveset is Heavenly Flame, or known as consecutive magic slashes. She'll essentially float high into the air. She'll say something like Heavenly Flame, but not always. And then she'll proc 4 long-ranged golden slashes. You can absolutely use those as ways to build up Skyward Might through perfect dodging. After the 4th one, she will crash down on your location, dealing significant damage. So it is best to simply dodge to the side, keep her in your view, and then once she lands, dodge behind her and try to proc a fast, heavy attack in order to proc the obliterate. There are times that she flies way beyond your range. I find that honestly to be more RNG than anything. From testing, I couldn't find it whether there is some certain range that is preferred. But for Heavenly Flame, I find it's always better to be as far back as possible than closer to the boss, as she'll tend to overcharge or overland, leading you to have to kind of chase after her to apply the obliterate. The second window of opportunity I find is Starfall. Again, she flies into the air. She'll say something like Starfall. She cloaks herself in fire and then crashes down on your location. This is probably the easiest way to just dodge forward, get behind her, and proc the obliterate through the use of a heavy attack. If you do want to bait the 2 movesets where she's flying into the air, you can try to stay towards a medium distance away from her, but honestly, I find that she procs the charge more often than not. So it is, again, a little bit of RNG in terms of how frequent you get the Starfall or the Heavenly Flame. There's 2 other movesets that you can actually proc when she is on the ground, and I do like kind of staying towards her right side, getting perfect dodges through some of her strikes, and just trying to be greedy and apply these heavenly attacks. But the first I find is flipping strikes, so she'll perform like a backflip and then rush towards you, delivering 2 strikes that can be easily deflected, and then followed by a final slash. She'll kind of stay in the air. I find that is an excellent opportunity to try to get behind her. And then the final move, and it's not so obvious, but it's almost like a uppercut. I believe it's called Swift Slash. She'll essentially perform 2 swift strikes in quick succession. You can certainly dodge the first or deflect the second, but what I find is as soon as she's charging the first of the slashes, kind of like this uppercut, her sword is in the air, I find that also an excellent opportunity to try to get a heavy attack. With all this said, it is not always going to happen. You're not always going to get an obliterate off. It is random. It is based on what her following moveset will be. I find that if she does like the water orbs, for an example, after any of these movesets, it will kind of cancel your ability to get a proper obliterate. So it is RNG. You just have to be patient, but these are the movesets I find are the easiest to get off. So if we just generally look at my own personal build, now keep in mind there is a ton of builds that can beat this boss. It does favor weapons, of course, that can get off a quick heavy in order to meet the timings and catch her off. If you are doing like an axe build, it's possible, but it's much more difficult to try to get those back obliterates. If anything, you're just going to be building up your poise damage much faster and doing it that way. Certainly the axe build is capable. Every build is viable. You can absolutely make the case for using the dual blade Blade Master Leech build because you're going to be clashing a fuck ton. I mean, that's just generally one of the most overpowered builds, especially this late in the game. You can certainly even use a Frostbite Spear Chain build that's been circling around the internet for this fight. You can absolutely use a one-handed magic build, but for this fight in particular, I used the long sword build. And if we become more specific, I use the Flamebringer. Burn is extremely effective in this fight. For the benedictions, I used Burning Might, Skyborn Vigor, and Combo Ignition. That way, I can consecutively attack, build fire, attack power. This, of course, compounds with the fact that I'm using Flame as my temperance. I do find that Skyborn Vigor is absolutely required. Just being able to carry the momentum and get the additional stamina with Skyborn Might, I find is quite effective. If we look at gear again, you can use a multitude of magic and slash resistance. You can use Centipede or the Ming armor set. You can then add, again, the fixed origin pill, or you can do the Kong wine, right? There's various ways in which you can build those resistances. You can use the Ludwin pendant, you can use the Dracolite pendant to further reduce the damage taken, the Gourd pendant. In this case in particular, I use the Twin Infant. I think that's mandatory for any build. The Gourd, just to give you the extra damage reduction when you're low, I find saved me more than once when I was in a pinch. And then, of course, I did favor the increased stamina, but it is preference. You can absolutely make the case for increasing the power of your weapon skills. In terms of the actual armor set, I did have I guess, a combination of armor. I used the Clerical Mask, the Ming armor, the Embroidered Vambraces, and the Clerical Waistcloth. Again, it's going to be entirely based on just, like, you having a good understanding of the boss's moveset more than any of the resistances, right? You're going to be perfect dodging a lot. Even spamming it helps, but this was the a specific armor that I used. You can absolutely make the case to do the entire Mistress of the Night Phoenix, or Mistress of the Night's armor set, but this was specifically what I used for the fight. These were the specific pendants I used. Proccing Divine Ward definitely helps, because you're going to be up and close and personal most of the fight. I didn't really use Burning Flames to proc the burn. I find that she was just moving far too much for it to land. Obviously, you're going to have your mana vases. Obviously, the Bone Whistle to summon the Elder in Phase 2. The Temperance Flame buff. Now, I did find that if you are struggling with this fight, the Leech Temperance is going to be far more beneficial, but of course the Flamebringer can't use that, so you're going to be substituting that for the Lashing Whip. That is just a general makeup of the weapons, the benedictions, the equipment, the equipment load and items, and then at the time of me beating the boss, I was level 61. Again, this is optional. You are more than welcome to keep farming, to progress through the game, and then come back to this fight later. I think you can come back to this fight as late as even Act 5 and still get all the endings. So, but if you're interested, I have done a 100% walkthrough guide. I will link it in the description. So if you want a bit more information, you'll find it there. If we move into my actual specific build, I'm not going to highlight everything, of course. Max out your mana potency and capacity. You're going to, max that out. I do like getting, of course, every benefit off Madness. So, for an example, right, restores health on hit on the final hit. The Rapid Temperance to apply it faster. Echo Spells wasn't really used in this fight. Of course, getting the 4 Acu points. The Maddening Incenses charges to make sure you have 100% Madness. This is gaining Feather Attack power, not really useful for this specific build at this moment, because I'm not using Feathering Magic. Of course, maxing out Temperance charges at 3. With 3 Temperance charges, you'll have near 100% uptime in any boss encounter. And then moving into the left, getting the final Temperance slot, and then maxing Endurance. And then from a longsword perspective, right, making sure you max out. You should have +7 at the point of this point of the game. And then what I've done is actually favored the use of Crescent Arc. I find that, yeah, there are moments where you can counter, but she's just moving so quickly that the Crescent Arc is really good just to provide that extra ability to dodge and then quickly, gap close. So This is longsword build. There's not much more to it. Very important, +5 nodes in agility, in endurance, in health, in getting +5 strength. So just making sure you scale, getting all the stat modifiers that you can, excluding, of course, feathering at this time of the game. And then lastly, of course, you know, Sword Savant for the ability to clash, and then getting additional Skyborn Might with your combos. So, and of course, Sword Saint, the most important, being able to, Wind Force being the most important, being able to, of course, proc heavy longsword attacks using a Skyborn Might. So this is generally my build makeup. Feel free to copy it if you want. Anyway, with that being said, let's get to the actual encounter of the guide. So welcome to the encounter portion of the guide. This allows me to just stop and start the encounter. I feel like that's a very good way for me to walk through some of my decision making and some of her moveset. Apologies that the game is zoomed in. I play it on an ultra wide monitor and YouTube really fucking hates that I do that. So, but anyway, that's behind the point. So it's going to be a little bit zoomed in, but fuck it, we're right there in the action. So when you start the fight, one or two things are going to happen. She's going to fly up in the air, doing the consecutive magic slashes, right? The heavenly flame, or she's going to charge you, right? So in this case, what's going to happen is she's going to pop up. That's most likely that's what's going to happen to you. And you're just going to try to get perfect dodges here just to get at least one Skyborn Might. You can absolutely pop a plumed branch or whatever to get 5 Skyborn Might at the start of the fight. And what we're trying to do is dodge last minute. Now, she kind of overshot. That tends to happen, but either way, we're trying to get the back heavy, and in this case, we did get it. So here we go, bam, big dick, start. We got the Temperance Flame status effect building up, and I'm trying to get big dick damage. Again, if you are suffering in this fight or having difficulty, Leech is going to be your best friend, again, using the Lash and Whip Longsword. But we're not bitches on this channel. We like big dick damage. Anyway, trying to make her go in the air by being back and in the middle of the arena, right? And then just, again, trying to... This, you want to run away. All these little fucking feathery sparks are going to blow you up. So going away and then re-engaging and always being aggressive. Here I popped a Divine Ward and just trying to find an opening where I can just hit her from behind. These are the water orbs. Okay, proccing my health. That's the charge. You want to dodge. There's my Divine Ward. And then here I am. You see how it tracks? See how the crescent arc just tracks? I really love that. And it provides really big stagger. But here I am, just trying to bait her side, trying to find... I didn't have a Skyward Might for that. Those are the orbs. Now I do. Popping a health, and just that's the charge. Dodging that, and just staying aggressive to her right-hand side. Just trying to get through phase 1 on my own. And bam, here we have. Now, unfortunately, that fucking little bastard stopped us from having an obliterate. But there you go. So, you know, constantly being aggressive, staying to her right side, trying to get obliterates from the back, right? Propping my crescent arc to be cheeky, I guess. And no, see, sometimes you really get a heavy right behind her, and it doesn't count because she's doing the water fucking orb bullshit. Anyway, right? There's not much to say, guys, right? Spocking, you know, getting grind might, going from behind, you know, there we go. That's twice now, but we did get the obliterate in this case, right? So again, aggressive, popping up fire burn. She's about to go into the second phase. Perfect. Now this is where we back away. I got hit there. Go behind the tree. As long as you're behind the tree, these water tornadoes won't hit you. Now, the first thing you're going to do is pop your Bone Whistle to summon our boy, the White Elder. Then you're going to wait. You're not going to pop your Temperance yet because there's downtime, right? Here we go, there we go. Now we can provide our Flame or our Leech, whatever you're using. Now, see, this will go through the tree, as I mentioned. Now, the bad thing... The good thing about the tree is you get time to heal and provide temperance. The bad part of the tree is you don't want her there because what's going to happen is the fucking white elder guy is going to be stuck there. It's just, you want her in the middle of the arena. So I'm trying to back up and bait her there, right? Dodging all the bullshit or not dodging in my way. See, this is the problem. The white elder will then get stuck and you're really just trying to let them come more this way. There we go. Okay, Skyfall, or whatever, Starfall, that was a waste. You know, I'm probably panicking at this point, right? Procking my health. And at this point in the phase, you just want to let her bait to him and trying to get the cheeky, heavy back obliterates from behind. That's all you're trying to do at this point, right? Letting him get aggro, knowing that he has lots of health, and trying to get those cheeky obliterates. Here I overshot. It's not that far of a gap distance, Jackafe. And then I'm just kind of spamming. Here's this stamina or poise meter, right? Trying to get her from behind, trying to get her distracted. It's a perfect obliterate. Big damage coming up. We've got, you know, reflame when she's down, heal. We got really big damage now because she's got the burn effect. And now I'm just being greedy. I don't even care anymore. I'm a maniac! Right, making sure I'm healing. I got more than enough. Backing away from this because it's going to be an area of effect. Coming in and just finishing the fight. Right, here we go. Gap close. Bam, big hit. And now just finishing the fight. And he's got way more than enough. He's alive. He doesn't have to stay alive. That won't affect the quest by any means. But that's the general makeup of the fight. This guide is already too long. Anyway, I hope you guys found it helpful. Subscribe, comment, like, share. It really means a lot to me. I hope, please share your own builds, your own tactics, your own advice for others to learn. Anyway, jack-offs, with that being said, I'll catch you on the next one.